What's happening, Steeler Nation? What is going on? How's everybody doing this evening, this afternoon, depending on where you are viewing from? I realize that not everyone is on the East Coast. I have West Coast viewers, Midwest viewers, Central viewers, viewers in other countries. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's watching. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the Steel Basement, aka the virtual Heinz Field. And before we dive into the topics, first, let me bring my topics back up here on the screen so I have them handy. Number two, what we always do is we're going to say a hello to the early commenters. So let's get that in, let's get that out, and then we're going to start the timer, which is actually right now. One moment. Boom. There we go. All right, we actually going to put this timer over here. I think somebody said to make this smaller, if I'm not mistaken. I think one of you guys said that. So how's that? How's that? Is that cool? Is that cool? Y'all don't really need to really care to see it, right? But anyway, let's get to it. What's up to Jared Devil, Antoine Beasley, Ron Simpson Gaming, Football 902, Mr. Winningham, how you doing tonight, sir? Jeremy Johnson, Mark Malone, Miss Lanisha, how you doing, Miss Lanisha? Thank you for coming through. Like always, special hello to our lovely ladies in the chat. And here's another one right after that, Miss Destiny. How you doing, Miss Destiny? Thank you for tuning in, of course. Appreciate the lovely ladies. Who else we got up in here? Carolina Larry 24. Who else? Steeler Lee, the Arch Steeler 937. Vista Light. Cutboy 412. Good brother White Diggy in the building. Charlie Brown. Henry Manuel. Sonny Rothmiller. Miss Debbie. Hello, Miss Debbie. Miss Debbie in the building as well. And really quick here, guys, right after I go through a few more names, I'm going to, again, read to you Debbie's, Debbie did say it was someone in the chat, but Debbie brought it to my attention, a good idea that we had. Unfortunately, we only have tonight to get it done. Let me turn this down, man. Seem like the contrast here in my camera is a little bright. So actually, man, hold on, guys. If y'all don't mind, right? Y'all like my real-time adjustments. Let me adjust something really quick. I think the exposure might be a wee bit too high. Give me a second. I think that's what it is. Aha, there we go. There we are. Now we beautiful. As if I am, right? All right, let's get back to it. Who else is up in here? Oh, Miss Sade. What's going on, Sade? Haven't seen you in a while. Glad to see you again, Miss Lady. Love it. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate you as well. The Real Deal. And who else? Father-in-law Leonard Langley in the building. And I guess we'll end it right there. Let's get right to the action. Quit the yapping and get to the action. So, here are tonight's topics. We're going to be brief. We're going to be in and out. We will definitely talk about the main topic of the night, Diontae Johnson. Should he be signed as a number one receiver? There's some rumors coming out saying that he's unhappy at the moment, so I'll get into that. That'll pretty much be the finale topic. Also, if the Steelers were to go best player available, the question I have for you all in the chat when I get to it is for you all. I don't even know if I might give an answer, but if the Steelers sat tight at 20 and their intent is to draft the best player available, who do you guys want that to be or think it could be? Also, I wrote here in my notes, will the Steelers target Miles Boykin after being cut by the Ravens? We now know the Steelers did claim him off of waivers, which is interesting. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then also, last but not least, which we can kind of start that now, and I'll read the particulars again. Who is your guy that you want to stump for? If you guys remember, stumping for your guy is basically the structure of what we talked about last week. Let me actually pull it up here for you so you guys can see what the ordeal is and, how you can enter and yada, yada, yada. Let's see. The exact wording of that is stumping for your number one pick. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, round of applause and a thank you to AKA Baby Steeler Angie. Thank you for the donation. Round of applause. Thank you, Miss Angie, and hello to you as well. Another lady of the chat, man. Really appreciate you as well. So again, we always want to take time, not just me, but fellas in the chat. Make sure you take time to say hello to the ladies. Be nice to the ladies. Don't treat them like regular ladies, if you will. Like, don't patronize them, all right? Because these ladies know what they're talking about. We're being gentlemen to the ladies, but we're not patronizing them. Hope you guys understand what I'm saying there. Let's get to it. Let's get right to it, man. All right, let's see what we got. What we want to go first? Let's see. Let me read this over. As far as stumping for your guy, I'm going to read this again. Shout outs to whoever's idea this was. Debbie brought it to my attention, so I'm definitely giving Debbie some of this credit here. But whoever's idea this was, great idea. Basically, what it will be is whoever answers this the best, do it tonight. You can do it here in the chat, or you can do it when you call in, and we'll let the chat decide. Myself, Kenyon, Debbie, we'll mull it over during the week, and perhaps you'll get an opportunity, as if it's something that special, right? But anyway, you get an opportunity to come on next week's show when we do a live draft show. We'll let you come on for a good amount of time, definitely before the first round pick, and stump for your guy. So let me read to you again the particulars. It says here, a criteria has been established to go live to the chat on the next show, and I will put that criteria in. I should have done that already, but let me put that criteria right in the chat. Give me a second. Criteria will be how well they are familiar with the players, school, position, stats, tangible and intangible attributes. So they being whoever you are stumping for your guy. One of the criteria will be how familiar you are with the players' school, position, stats, tangible and intangible attributes. Also, how will this player fit on the team, whether that's position group or overall team? And also, what about this player sets them apart from the other players in the draft at this position? So that is the criteria. Let me dump it in the chat really quick. Give me a second, guys. For whatever reason, I no longer can enter the chat. I can no longer comment in the chat. I have to go to YouTube to do that. So give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm just going to go to the stream there, drop that criteria up in there, and then we'll go ahead and get it moving. Thank you guys for bearing with me, man. Thank you. Y'all know I try to be as prepared as I can, but I'm working on a crazy schedule. Y'all know that on Tuesdays, man. Like, I get home, I have about an hour or so to spare before the show starts. So here it is. Let me put it in the chat. Here is the criteria coming right at you. Actually, it's not going to let me put it in the chat because it's too many characters. So what I'll do is I'll put it in the description. Give me 2 seconds to do that. Stumping for your pick. Criteria listed below. Now let me list it. Don't y'all love this real-time interaction? Gotta love it, right? Gotta love it, right? All right, here it is. Boom, it's in the description right now. All right, it is in the description. Round of applause, man, to Kev So Fun. I'm telling you, man, Kev So Fun has just been dropping them dollars. Man, appreciate you so much. Round of applause and thank you in advance. He says, Sim, if Malik Willis is there without moving up, he's the only quarterback I would take in the draft. If not, then draft a lineman or D lineman And Diontae needs to set up his game if he wants. I think you're saying step up his game if he wants that big money in the playoffs or big moments. Yes. Interesting that you say that Malik is the only one that you would take in this draft at 20. I only say interesting. Not saying I disagree. It's just interesting when I hear different takes and different sides because, I've heard so much. Some people would love to move up to get him. Some people would rather take Kenny Pickett if he's there at 20, which they don't expect it to be. I've even seen people say sit tight and draft Sam Howell at 20. Yes, I've seen that. I've seen people say it's going to be Corral. And then, of course, the guy that I say that's still the dark horse, in my opinion, the one I think a lot of people are overlooking that the Steelers, I believe, have interest in, Desmond Ridder. So, again, I respect your opinion with you saying he's the only quarterback because I will add on to that and say, to me, Malik Willis just off of, always got to do the air quotes, off of projected possible potential. He's the only QB that I would even see a move up for. I don't see moving up for any of the rest of those guys. It's just my opinion. So, we shall see how it pans out. Defensive lineman, I wouldn't necessarily be mad at that. I don't know if we need to go get that at 20 unless it is a guy like the Wyatt kid or what's the other? It's a couple of them dudes from Georgia, but y'all obviously everyone knows Jordan Davis. Offensive line, I don't know. I don't know if offensive line needs to be the number one pick now because it is a deeper class. Unless you're not 100% confident with the tackles. But I think the moves that they did in free agency kind of frees up that ability. And Diontae Johnson absolutely needs to step up. I think Diontae Johnson, let me go on the record and say this. I think Diontae Johnson played definitely like a number one receiver last season outside of the latter part of the year where he started getting the drops again. He cannot continue to do that. I thought we were going to have a season where we would all be saying, man, he really cleaned it up. And we were all saying that until about week, 14-ish? He's got to step it up, man, and he has to be the guy in key moments. Absolutely. I agree with all of that you said. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right to it. And I'm not watching the chat, guys, so if any of you guys see anyone who's replying to the stumping for your guy, please let me know. I hate to give you guys homework, but Kenyon, Miss Debbie, Destiny, I'm going to pull you into that mix. Tony, if you're watching, if you guys see any of that, any of the rest of you guys that I know that heavily watch the chat, because all of us are going to vote. But if you see any of that, please let me know. Maybe put it to the side and tell me who the person was. And if you can copy down what they wrote, shoot me an email, something, because I'm not going to see it right now, but I'll see it towards the end of the show. So first thing we'll talk about. Best player available at 20. If the Steelers do not move up, they don't make any drastic moves, I'm asking you guys in the chat, because this is a challenge to you all. Who do you think, or who would you take at 20? I think Kev So Fun already, put his bid out there saying Malik Willis. If, all of this is if. Let's not get too far into who's going to be there and who isn't, but I will say maybe use some of that in your pick, kind of use an educated guess of who you think would be there. Because ultimately what we're saying is that we're saying that the Steelers don't make any drastic moves and they just sit at 20. We have to assume some of these guys that we think are going to be gone are going to be gone. So I come to you guys in the chat. Let me see what y'all got. Who do you think it would be if it were you, and who would you like it to be? King Go Crazy says, if not Malik Willis, then Jordan Davis. That's fair, but I definitely will say, it's almost a foregone conclusion that Malik Willis will probably be gone, but who knows? You just never know how crazy the draft is. Tony Carlson says Kyle Hamilton if we're drafting a need. Okay, I ain't mad at that at all, because that's another one of my topics is one of the biggest needs right now on the team Jordan Mid says an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. Okay. Y'all still want an O lineman, huh? Y'all are still ranking offensive linemen being picked at 20? Even after the free agency moves? Okay. I'm not mad at that. Malik Willis, if he's there. If not, draft QB next year. Okay. Lagoon Tours Bahamas. I'm glad to see you back. Let's see who else y'all got. Wyatt. Nadrews. Wyatt. I like Wyatt too. I do. What's the other kid's name, man? What number 94? I think he wore. Why can't I remember his name? Y'all know. All of y'all know him. Who's the other dude, man? That's more of like the end for Georgia. Who's probably gonna go early too. Excuse me. He's probably the one out of the three that I would prefer. Jeremy Johnson says Stingley Jr. Okay, if he's there, not mad at that either. Keen says Kyle is going to be gone. Yep, it's very possible. What else y'all got? Booth. Okay, Andrew Booth. What is that other kid's name that I'm forgetting? Kenya, I know you know. Who is that other kid that I'm forgetting from Georgia? Or is it 97? He might wear 97. Ali Howard says, Sim, forget the draft. Can we get Kenyon as a GM? That too, guys. Hopefully we're going to find out right after that who the GM will be. Yeah, like I said, guys, Trayvon Walker. There we go. God, Kenyon, thank you. Walker. I actually like him out of all of those guys. I like him more as if I'm going for a guy who can probably play more on an every down basis. Jordan Davis is a freak of nature. No question about it. But to me, Jordan Davis, I don't think he gives you as much in the nickel. And the Steelers, I mean, in NFL in general, run a lot of sub package. Okay? Now, would he still help you in our division where these teams run the football? Absolutely. But, yeah, I think Walker is that dude, man. Yeah, I know. He's nowhere near going to be there. Nowhere near going to be there. But I like him, and I like Wyatt too, man. And honestly, I mean, y'all might think I'm crazy, but I would take a chance on those two. Definitely Walker, more so than Jordan Davis, only because of usability, if that's a word. You know, you understand what I'm saying as far as how he would be utilized. All right, so that was pretty cute as a subject. So the next topic, really quick, I didn't list it, but it is one of the topics. Listen, man. Excuse me, this strong safety spot is becoming more and more a need. Safety in general. I mean, you got Carl Joseph, yes, but let's say as we sit right now, who's the third safety at this moment? Who's the third guy on the depth chart? You know, I guess if you want to consider Norwood as a safety, but they kind of use him as a corner/safety. But who is your legit starting or backup strong safety at this moment? That is a huge need. All of the talk about the honey badger and all that, I mean, that is definitely, piped down. And again, we don't know what's going on with Edmonds. Edmonds hasn't signed with anyone. It's interesting. This has definitely become a position of need, and one of those dudes could be there at 20. I doubt if Kyle Hamilton makes it that far, but there's word that supposedly the Steelers have interest in him. Obviously, we know they were at the pro day, but keep your eye out on that. Keep your eye out on the safety position. If the Steelers, and I will say that maybe that will be my position. If the Steelers sit tight at 20 and they're going best player available, it could be a safety. It could very well be a situation that we were in when we drafted Terrell Edmonds. It could repeat itself if Steelers do not move up to get a Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett or whichever 2 or 3 guys that they are willing to take. If those guys are off the board and some of the, the monster defensive guys are off the board, the Stingleys, the Booths, Jordan Davis, Walker, even if you want to throw Dean in there. I mean, just the guys that you expect to be gone. Let's say all of those people are gone. Could be one of them situations where it's a Terrell Edmonds situation. And what I'm saying by that is, could be a guy that maybe we didn't have as a first rounder. Dave identified him and they take him in the first. Could happen. Because I think that is a huge, huge need at this moment. Strong safety is the biggest hole right now in the defense as far as just on paper. None of us know who the starting strong safety is. So that is interesting. Real Fact says, Jesus Christ, if we reach for another DB, Terrell Edmonds and Artie Burns vibes. Yeah, but honestly, man, I'm going to be honest with you guys, man. Yeah, maybe not him being a first rounder, but I don't think Terrell Edmonds turned out to be a horrible pick in the grand scheme of things. But again, we kind of addressed that in one of the previous shows. I think people more so beef with Terrell Edmonds because he was a first rounder, and that's understandable. All right, man, time is flying pretty fast, so let me move on to the next topic. Let me see which one I want to address first. Make sure you put your stumping for your guy in the chat. Again, whoever has the best, possible responses based on the criteria, we'll welcome you to come on the show for a while on next week, live on air. Again, it's basically you campaigning for your guy to be the number one pick. The criteria is how well you are familiar with the player's school, his position, his stats, his tangible and intangible attributes. How will that player fit on the team, i.e. position group and or overall team? And number 3, what about this player sets him apart from other players in the draft at his position? The best answers to those will choose who had the best stumping, if you will, for their guy. All right, so the next thing, let's talk about the Steelers signing Miles Boykin. Listen, man, anytime the Steelers sign a free agent, let me tell you guys how I approach it. I look for upside. That's it. I don't get so far into what they did for their current team, whether it's good or bad. I look at what is the upside on the Steelers team. Y'all want me to give you a perfect example? Joe Schobert was a beast in Cleveland. All over the field. A tackle machine. Had a few interceptions. I think he had 4 or 5 in a year. All over the field. Was tops in the league in tackles. Goes to Jacksonville, and if I'm not mistaken, he did the same thing. Had 100+ tackles. I think he probably played his better ball in Cleveland, but he was a tackle machine. Now, he comes to the Steelers, and I think his tackles were relatively decent last year. I don't remember. I didn't look at the stats. But he didn't make the splash or lock down and solidify that inside linebacker position the way we thought he would based off of his previous performances, right? So that's why I don't always look at how good or how bad a player was. I look at who they are, what they bring to the table, what they can possibly be, and how it will fit with the Steelers. So you can say what you want about Miles Boykin as far as, he didn't get a lot of playing time and with the Ravens, and he didn't stay healthy all the time, and yada yada yada. I understand that, but if you just go look and shout outs to what's the name of the channel, man? Steelers Nation Highlights. Shout outs to Steelers Nation Highlights. Always quickly putting a highlight package together of any player that we sign, free agent or what have you, and he does it. I'm sure they do it, and I don't know if it's more than one guy, but they do it for the draft picks and all that. So shout outs to them, because again, some people just want to see stuff in passing. Everyone is not looking at it critically like myself or Kenyon and a lot of you others here in the chat. Debbie and Destiny breaking down gameplay footage. They told you guys that when they were on the show. Everybody doesn't do that. Some people just want to see okay, let me just see a quick highlight reel and I can look at their measurables and see, the things they do well. I know it's not going to be a highlight every play. And that's all fine and dandy. So just go look at his highlights and you can see what he can do in the NFL. Most of you should be familiar with what he was at Notre Dame. But I'm looking at it like this. Big body. This dude is 6'3", almost 6'4", plus 200. I think he's 220, something like that. Coming out of college, he ran a 4.42 at the combine. I would imagine at his age right now, he can still get you a 4.4, 4.5, maybe. Like he probably still has some of that speed. Injuries and things like that may have affected him. But just look at his potential and you pair that with a Diontae, not Diontae, I'll get to him in a minute, but like a Chase Claypool. It's a matchup nightmare if you have him and Claypool out there at the same time. Line Claypool up in the slot. I'm just saying, could be a pretty decent matchup nightmare, man. Shout outs to Steel Elite. Round of applause for the donation. Plus, we all know the Steelers definitely needed another wide receiver. He says, scheme-wise, Boykin would be a good take over Juju's spot in the slot. Has some good chemistry with Claypool being college teammates, but everything else is up in the air. Yeah, you could put him in the slot as well. So clearly, you know what this tells me, guys? I want to say clearly, even though everything isn't an absolute, but it clearly shows that maybe the Steelers are finally getting on board with the big slot idea, where they kind of did that with Juju, even though Juju wasn't a big guy. He played big, wasn't a small receiver either. He's kind of, when it comes to receivers, what was Juju, guys? 6'1", somewhere around there. Solid dude, So he was bigger than our normal slot guys. When you think back to guys like Eli Rogers, he was bigger than our normal slot type dudes. But now you've heard people say put Claypool in the slot. But look at these two body types. Either one of those dudes inside is a nightmare. I like it. Scheme-wise, I like Hunter, or just kickoff coverage type of guy, punt coverage type of guy. So sounds like he's a little physical. Now, again, I haven't watched him play special teams. I'm saying that he's played over 400 special team snaps. So that sounds like me that he's physical. So what does that mean? Can he block? Can we get him to block and do what we've been trying to do with Claypool, being that big body guy that we can put out there on rundowns? There's potential there. There's definitely potential there. And I don't see the issue, in my opinion, with picking him up. It was interesting that the Steelers claimed him off of waivers, though, because then they had to take on $4 million. You got to remember, again, we pay attention to pre-draft visits. The Steelers definitely brought him in way back then, a few years back when he got drafted. The Steelers, remember, we were thinking that they might go. Y'all remember that? Maybe they could get Miles Boykin. Some of us were campaigning for that. So clearly the Steelers know about him. They have their eye on him. They must feel comfortable.